What is up, guys? It's Parnellyx, and today we're doing a VOD review of a completely different Warwick player on the NA server. Challenger, 60% win rate. He goes by Renekton, that's the tag, not the champion, that's just his name. And he was Challenger with Warwick top lane last season, and he's the first Warwick player to hit Challenger in NA this season, and he's a complete beast. I would say he is the best Warwick player on NA, because you know, I always like to be competitive with that, but I gotta kind of prove it. I'm a little bit inconsistent. I'm very inconsistent, especially with my mental. I tend to tilt pretty hard, and I think Renekton, he does tilt sometimes, but not nearly as much as me. And he's able to stay poised, especially when he's the one thing that I think that impresses me with him is that even when he's weak sided or he's getting camped, he's able to always just kind of pull his weights. I'm a player that starts to kind of tilt a lot when my jungler isn't coming top lane, and that's honestly weak mindset. So I want to see what he does, how he handles jungle pressure, what's his approach to lane, how he pushes his leads, and how he just stays consistent. So yeah, he's playing on his account Do, which you may have seen before if you looked up Warwick players in the ladder. He recently name changed it to Love Yu Ying, so it's a little bit of a different name now. But we get to see Warwick Udyr matchup here. Do know he's going Grasp. You can see his sums, his runes. He's going to be going Grasp, Demolish, I think Second Wind, Revitalize, Presence of Mind, and Last Stand, I believe, are his runes, although you can always check his op.gg to make sure. Now, the Udyr matchup, I'll say Warwick versus Udyr in general, whether it's jungle or top, is always kind of annoying. The champion's just really strong. Phoenix Udyr in particular. Tiger Udyr is really a piece of cake for Warwick to deal with, because he's very bursty and he denies burst. But Phoenix Udyr is obviously very tanky, has a lot of sustain, has really good movement speed, some slows, and it's just really annoying. It's really hard for Warwick to deal with sometimes. In top lane, it's not like a bad matchup by any means, but I find it kind of hard to snowball. But he says it's not hard to snowball. We're just gonna play super aggro. We're stronger at the early levels, and we're just gonna trade as aggressively as possible. Now, Udyr really messed up here. He has no TP. And he's trying to trade back with Warwick when he should just let the wave push in. So that was like a pretty big mistake by him. That's not going to happen every game, but it's a really good punish from Renekton here. And that's what you got to do in Warwick. When you have those early, when you just have that early advantage, when you can outtrade your opponents level 1s through 3, which is the case for most matchups in the top lane, which is why Warwick is feared. You just want to play relentlessly aggressive and always just focus on trading. Focus on trading as hard as you can. You'll notice that he ignores CS sometimes. He doesn't really focus on the wave too much, at least not until he's ahead. He's just focusing on winning trades. That's just going to make it as obnoxious as possible for the enemy. And it's going to set up the ability for you to, you know, play the wave more in the future. Like if you just are able to just generate like leads by, you know, making them low on HP or getting some kills, then Udyr's not gonna be able to play the game, and eventually you can figure things out by then. Right now though, he's got a pretty good wave position. I think this wave's shoving back into him, so I imagine he's gonna be looking for a bit of a freeze here. So the freeze in this situation, obviously he's stronger. Let's see actually what he got. Sheen on his first recall. Forgot to kind of show items here. He started with D-Blade. I think it's interesting that he starts with D-Blade actually, but he's actually getting ganked here. And this is something that impresses me about him, is that he doesn't really die to ganks. He's, you know, it looks like a sketchy situation, but the key thing about avoiding dying to jungle ganks in any lane, but especially top lane, it's not about like warding, although that's part of it. Because the Renekton actually doesn't ward that much. Honestly, I think he should probably ward more personally from what I've seen from him and when I've talked to him. But it's more about preparing for the jungle gank. He's going in aggressive when he knows that if the jungler shows up, I can deal with him. If he can't deal with him, then he might look to ward, or he might not just look to not trade. But he's not going to flip it. He's not going to go in for a really aggressive all-in and think, you know, if the jungler's here, I die, but, you know, whatever. And honestly, most people don't even like really think about that in general. They just go in and then they're like, oh, the jungler showed up. I never thought about that. But you got to think about that. That's like how people avoid dying to jungle ganks, simply put. So just always kind of like weigh or think about how it's going to play out. Like versus Wukong, how Wukong can approach a gank is going to be different from how Lee Sin can approach a gank. So you just got to think like, what can he do? If he's sitting in this bush, what is he going to do coming out of this bush? And how am I going to react to that? Now, he actually kind of ends here. Pretty hard, not going to lie. But the one thing to mention that he was trying to do here, which is what he likes to do, it's what I like to do too. It's how you utilize your leads in Warwick, is if you're slow pushing the wave in and you get the wave to crash, you want to try to poke your lane opponents under turrets constantly with your Q. You Q out of them, walk away. You're going to take a turret shot. You'll probably take some poke. You might take a lot of damage, actually. But the thing is you can whittle down your lane opponents and force them to either recall or even just tower dive them if they don't recall. And every time the wave comes, you just lifesteal off the wave and you're back to at least half HP. So you just want to like Q your lane opponent under turret whenever you have the chance. Unless of course they could like, you know, kill you, or you're risk dying to a jungle gank. You do got to be careful about it. But if they can't kill you, then most of the time you should just be going for it. And that's how you slow push, or that's how you play Warwick when you're pushing the wave, and you have a lead. Really, really key there. Because if you don't have a lead, then you're probably not going to be able to whittle them down. You're probably just going to lose the trade and eventually die. So as far as items is concerned, so yeah, he's got Sheen, Caulfield's Warhammer, and Ruby Crystal. He's obviously going for Divine Sunder first. He really likes Divine. I'm kind of surprised he's not going for Bork versus Udyr. I know he's told me that he really likes just Divine in general whenever he can. I usually kind of split 50-50 between Divine and Bork, but I'm gonna try more Divine Rush and just kind of see how that goes. It's a bit safer. The thing about Bork is it gives you more raw damage and good kill potential, but Divine just makes you a completely immovable object because you just heal a ton and your Q poke is ridiculous, and you're a lot better at short trading. I also think it's kind of interesting he doesn't go lethal tempo versus Udyr. He really likes the grasp. He does go lethal tempo sometimes, but versus Udyr, I feel like it's a matchup where you would go lethal, because he's not a champion that can like he can kite you out a little bit, but he's going to like, in order for him to do anything to you, he has to kind of, you know, attack you a few times so you can kind of stack up that lethal. But he really likes the short trade potential of grasp, and it also allows you to go demolish, which helps with snowballing. So that's one of the reasons why I've always liked grasp page. In case anyone's wondering, it's not just about grasp; it's about the fact that you can go grasp and you can go demolish, and you can go second wind and all those runes. Like, you don't have to sacrifice demolish or second wind, because those are very strong in the laning phase. But again, right there is exactly what he was trying to do earlier. He's just trading really hard under the turret. Doesn't matter if you tank turret shots. By the way, notice that the wave was in a really beautiful spot there. He was able to actually minimize the tower shots he was taking because the minions were like just inside turret range, so he could walk out in time sometimes. But that's still, even if the turret, even if the minions were further under the turret, that's still exactly what you want to do. You just kind of just Q auto, walk away. When your Q comes back up, Q auto, walk away. And you just slowly poke down your lane opponent. Now he's got the Divine Sunder, which is a insane power spike. And I talked to Renekton about this before, which is something I believe in. He says he completely agrees. Playing for freezes on Warwick is great in the early game, but once you get your first item, it does always depend, of course, in the situation. So it's kind of like a rule of thumb, but not an absolute rule. Once you get your first item, this is when you really want to just start pushing a lot, because like what I said about how you can just harass him under turret with your Q becomes completely exaggerated when you have your first item. Like when he has Divine Sunder here. By the way, something I just want to mention is we just noticed him go for a really aggressive all-in, completely ignored the wave. He sees that he has the kill opportunity, so he's going to say screw the wave. I thought I personally probably wouldn't have gone for that, because I would have been scared that I don't kill the Udyr and then I lose minions or I lose my freeze. But honestly, even if he doesn't kill Udyr there, Udyr will still be forced to recall. So that's just something you want to go for right there, like every single time. It's just, if you can either kill your lane opponent or force them to recall, just do that, and then you have like 30 seconds to lane for free. And then you can crash the wave and do whatever you want. But this right here, and again, he's doing exactly what I was saying. You always have to be careful with it. This is, I guess that's probably one of the skill factors of Warwick, comes with experience, is knowing when you can, or how much you can abuse Q poke under turret. But with Divine Sunder, it becomes completely exaggerated. You're able to do it much more effectively. You can just Q poke the Udyr like 4 or 5 times, and now he either has to recall or he dies. Or you can even just tower dive him, especially with your ultimate up. So at this point in the game, freezing, not really worth it, because you can get so much more out of just pushing. It's like you don't need to freeze. You just don't need to freeze. Burns the ignite, walks away, and he's just gonna keep doing this. Now he actually gets ganked here. Again, this is where I think he should have warded, honestly. I don't think there's a reason to be holding on to wards. He's holding on to one ward here. He does play this fantastic though. He manages to get the most out of the situation, but sadly his team is just too weak and they end up dying the siege. Or this skirmish, I mean. But yeah, I think he should have definitely warded there. When you're pushed up that far, like, yeah, you're dominating the 1v1, but when you're playing that aggressive under the turret, you do got to be careful about getting roamed on. You got to pay attention to the map and also ward to avoid situations like that. Of course, the Ryze ult would have kind of avoided any potential ward, but he still should have warded in general. At the very least, it would have spotted the Wukong and made things a little bit easier. It's okay. He is back. He's got a pickaxe, which I know he's going to be building into Blade of the Rune King. So he likes to build Divine Sunder, Blade the Rune King, and he likes to go tank boots. He stopped building CDR boots a lot because, I've actually stopped building CDR boots. I haven't stopped building CDR boots, but I build them a lot less than I used to. And he mentioned, with this build, you have so much raw damage, you're kind of squishy. So you need some tank boots. You need some tank boots to help you out, whether it's Merc Treads or Plated Steel Caps. Unless either of those boots both kind of suck, go with one of them. The only time you go with CDR boots is if the other options are kind of terrible. So now, again, kills his lane opponents. He's up 40 CS, 7-2. He's having a good time here. He's going to shove in this wave. And I think what he should be doing here after he shoves in this wave, because everyone's bot side, I think he should just go ahead and take these Krugs. Now, I actually already looked at this. Actually, I feel like he should definitely be pushing in that wave fully. Not entirely sure what he's doing here. Okay, he wards. Like I was going to say, I took a look at this VOD before. I'm not really sure why he didn't go for Krugs here, because everyone seemed to be bot side. Yeah, Wukong was bot side and everything. I think he should have just taken Krugs. Taking red here makes a lot of sense, though. I just think he could have taken Krugs. He could have pushed in the wave, taken Krugs, taken red. But it's whatever. He's going to get this. Khan's here, so he's got to kind of get away. And now he's probably just going to run under this turret, make sure he collects some farm. As the wave is crashing into him. Walks past the ward. No need to clear it. Not yet, at least, because the wave's under turret, so he doesn't want to miss out on any minions. Just just gotta, like, when you walk past a ward and you have something to go to, just keep that ward in mind. Don't. A bad habit that I have personally is that I always try to clear out the ward instantly. Even if, like, the entire enemy team's in front of me. I get caught so much trying to clear out wards. It's kind of embarrassing. Not kind of, really embarrassing. So that's a bad habit that I have. But just keep vision in mind when you walk past it. And think about if you really need to clear it at the moment. Okay, right here. You can see his wave's pushed out. He notices that his teammates are grouped up mid. And he has the opportunity to impact the fight. He's really strong. And honestly, for the last couple minutes, he's been looking. For the last couple minutes, I can guarantee you he's been looking for fight opportunities. It's just that there hasn't really been any, so he's been kind of staying topside. Once you have that first top lane turret, that's when you want to just start looking to see if you can roam and impact the map. If no opportunities present itself, just keep pushing the top lane. Like, pushing top lane is what you do when there's just nothing going on. But once there's something going on, once there's something to do, once you have the ability to show up to a fight and carry a fight, that's when you just roam. That's when you dip your lane. Even if you have to miss out on minions, like, it doesn't really matter if a wave's pushing into you. You don't have to push out top lane. If you think that you can win a fight, you go to the fight. Because this is your time to shine. Like, you're fed. You're one of the strongest people on the map right now. And you're at a pretty good power spike, so you don't want to waste that power spike by just farming a bunch. You want to try to snowball your lead. Right here. Try to group up. Try to make a pick here. Didn't work out. So he's just gonna go ahead and recall. See, like, again, but like, notice he didn't really care about top lane. Top lane's getting pushed in. Just whatever. He tried to impact mid. It was not really, honestly, that's good of an ult. But the idea is that he's trying to impact the game right now while he can. Again, grouping mid lane. His wave's not even crashed top lane yet, so there's no reason to not just show mid here. Although, without ultimates, you're very unlikely to do anything. So, I don't think he was really expecting anything to happen, but you might as well just show up mid when... If your wave's isn't pushed in yet, top lane. You got some time to work with. And now he is going to just flash away here. Actually, he could have queued that Rakan W and probably walked away, maybe saved his flash. He might have been worried about getting rooted by Xayah, though, which is probably why he just flashed there. No reason to get caught, especially considering he actually doesn't have a bounty anymore because his team's really far behind. But yeah, now his team is sieging mid lane. They have Herald, and Dragon is spawning soon. So at this point, just group. Like I said, this is where you want to impact fights. Group mid. Really important, by the way, guys. Now in lower elos, it's very unlikely you're gonna get your teammates on board with this, but the enemy team's also less likely to be on board. Mid prio before objectives, really important, because it helps you get a lot more angles to approach the fight. So being to dragons early and getting mid lane pushed out is really good. This right here is a very, very awkward situation. He's going on the Rise. Rise is the strong guy here, so it's pretty chaotic. I don't think that like team fight approach like looked the best, but it ended up working out because Rise ended up next to him. Really, really important, regardless of whatever champion you're playing, but especially on Warwick. Really key point, especially on Warwick, considering you're a single target champion. Before you decide to team fight with your team, think about, open up tab, see who the threats are, see who your threats are on your team, and think about what your job is, what's your duty, who do you want to focus, and set a priority list. Don't tunnel on one person. Don't be like, okay, Rise is the most fed, I have to focus Rise. Unless he's just really fed, then you can just do that. But in this situation, he's probably thinking, okay, Rise is strong, I want to focus Rise. Rise, Wukong, both are like equally as important to focus. So if Rise like is in front of him, he'll probably go for Rise, but he's not going to force it because Wukong's going to be going into him, so he can just focus him pretty reliably. So he's going to be playing more front to back here, trying to stuff the Wukong and engage. And of course, if Xayah is also pretty strong, so if he finds himself on Xayah, it's obviously going to be pretty easy for him to deal with. Especially considering this patch, ADC is really, really strong, so getting rid of the ADC is actually now important again. Which I think is actually pretty important for the game. That ADC is like one of the most important roles in a team fight. I feel like it just adds balance when everyone's trying to protect their ADC or dive the enemy ADC. But we got a Baron situation here. The Baron gets stolen somehow. I don't know how we messed that up. And now his entire team gets ace, this is a nightmare, a literal nightmare scenario. The enemy team is 1 dragon off Soul. They just stole Baron. They're already behind. In theory, they get outscaled. And they just got ace, so that is great. That's fantastic. I actually don't know how he's able to come back from this game. They're down 8k gold right now. He has Bork Divine, so he has really strong damage. One thing that he actually does with a build like this is he really likes to focus the front line. He doesn't really like to dive that often. That's something I love to dive. I love to dive the enemy backline. But honestly, with a build like this, you're very squishy. So that's always going to be a pretty high risk. By the way, something I didn't even mention, by the way. 1 second. So like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about though. He's ulting the front line. I like to hold my ultimate. I'm scared of ulting the front line because I feel like if I don't kill my target instantly, like the Rakan, how this Rakan survives, I'm worried that not having a gap close later in the fight means that I'm just going to be kind of useless and get kited. But honestly, it works out really good here, even though it looks kind of sus. Looks pretty sus there. But yeah, he likes to ult the front line and just... like, he wants to make the fight a 5v4 as soon as possible. If he can just delete one important person on the enemy team early on and just give his team the numbers advantage, he goes for it. That's something I don't do that much, and or at least not enough. And it's definitely something I can improve on. Again, I'm always just... I kind of save my ultimate a lot because I always want to try to like get a good lockdown or a good engage on one of the range champions, but in team fights, you know, just getting rid of one person early on is really nice. And he still has really good damage. He's not going to get kited from like Udyr or Wukong. So if he ults the Rakan, he's still going to be useful in fights. So yeah, his approach is, even though Ryze is really strong here, he's thinking, you know, I can prevent this Wukong from fighting. And my Caitlyn's also pretty strong too. So as long as I defend her, we should be okay. With Bork and Divine, you're going to be dealing more damage than most champions. So you'll be able to, like, blue team's going to be able to shred red team's front line before the vice versa. So yeah, that's just how he plans out the team fights here. He's going for Spear Visage third. Now do know this is before the hotfix, so Grievous Wounds is strong again now, so I don't think Spear Visage is really that good anymore. I didn't really build it that much anyways, but it was actually fine. But I think now Spear Visage kind of is weak, because Grievous Wounds getting better, easier to build. Oh man, that actually almost looked really, really good there. He tried to get on the Xayah, but he just didn't have the follow-up. And now his team's in a rough spot. What I was actually going to mention, though, actually earlier, this right here, oh yeah, I remember this situation. This was completely troll. Ryze did not group with the team here. Pretty sure they could have taken out this Nexus turret if he just grouped. And that would have made it almost impossible for blue team to win this game. But Blitzcrank's able to save the game here. Warwick spawns in time, so he's able to defend this Nexus turret. And he's even going to be able to get a pick on this Ryze here with his ultimate. But what I was going to mention is I didn't talk about skill order this game. So something that's Renekton likes to do for skill order, he likes to do 3 points in Q. So he likes to go Q level 1, E level 2 usually. Sometimes he goes W level 2, but usually it's Q level 1, E level 2, W level 3, 3 points in Q. You get 3 total points in Q, and then max out W or E first, and then max W or E second. So, I mean, you can notice right here, he only has 3 points in Q. It's the last spell he's maxing to the end. But that's pretty much what I do in top lane as well now. I like to do 2 points in Q and then max out W and E, because you don't get too much value from Q max. The mana cost goes up a lot. It just kind of makes you mana hungry if you start putting too many points in it. But the burst heal is pretty nice, so you do want to get a couple points in it, like at least 2 or 3 points in Q. But then W and E are just really strong spells, especially in team fights. E's beautiful in team fights. Really good for making you tanky. W gives you more attack speed, more movement speed. So just gotta think about what do you need? Do you need defensive power or do you need offensive power? I did not see what he actually... I did not see what he maxed first. That's, I mean, that fight right there was played pretty well from him. Kind of sad. They end up giving up soul here. They are down almost 10,000 gold. And once again, it's a very rough spot for Renekton and his team here. He's going into Thornmail next. This is pre-buffed Thornmail. It was still good though. I don't know if Thornmail is the best idea here though, considering this is pre-buff. I feel like something like Rainwinds would be stronger because they don't have that much. Well, I guess never mind. They have Ocean Soul. I forgot they have Ocean Soul. So yeah, Thornmail is actually really good here. So they're gonna be healing a lot here. But yeah, he's focusing the front line here. He ults the Wukong early. He wants to make sure he wants to make sure his team gets the numbers advantage early on in the fights. He wants to kill the front line as fast as possible. That way the back line becomes vulnerable to his team. And that's why he chooses it all early. That's why he chooses to just front to back. And it works out this time. The enemy team over-engaged. And now we have a 5v3 at Baron. We actually have the ability to turn this game around. And Udyr can't really go in. Rise, this is what happens when they don't have their front line to peel for them. It becomes really easy to approach these carries. And now we got a little bit of a comeback coming. It's only a 3k gold lead now. All of a sudden, that's like a 6k gold swing in no time. And that's despite them having soul. By the way, one tip, for anyone wondering, with barrier on Warwick in late game team fights, or really like at any point in the game. So barrier as a summoner spell is pretty weak, honestly, because the shield doesn't scale very well. It's good in laning phase, but it scales really poorly. But you can actually add more value to the barrier by using it when you have your E up. Because if you're taking reduced damage, if you're taking half damage from during your E, that means your shield is double the value. So if you have only have a 400 health barrier, that basically turns into like an 800 health barrier during your E. So if you're low on HP, I'd still definitely use barrier when you're low on health though. Don't use it when you're high on health. But if you're low on HP, try to use barrier during your E, and you'll be able to soak up more damage that way. Or block more damage. Okay, so he gets his Thornmail. He's got a Negatron Cloak. I'm not sure what he's building into next. Not sure if it's Force of Nature. I think it's Force of Nature he's probably building into right now. And now he can just face check bushes. Warwick face checking with your team as Warwick is actually really strong because of how really OP your E is. how tanky it can make you. That said, team, oh, this fight looks very sketchy. Fight looks very, very sketchy. His job was to be the front line of that fight. And honestly, I don't think that fight looks like it went very well, but in the end, they come out on top because Caitlyn's just full build at this point, so, or nearly full build. So let your carries do their thing at this point. Abuse your tankiness. And again, we're just hitting the front line anyways, so. Now, again, going for mid-prio, like I tried to mention earlier, mid-prio really, really important for team fights. Oh, there's no mid-prio here. It's just a straight-up team fight. Again, ults the Wukong early. Wants to get rid of that man. Delete the enemy carry. And now he can go in really hard with his team. Lands a monster fear. Kites back a little bit, waits for his cooldowns, goes back in, chomps him. Chomps him and stomps him. And now we're even in gold. But we're not even in LP because I'm pretty sure we're about to finish this game off right here with an absolutely insane comeback. And it's not like Warwick had to do any like 1v5ing or anything. The man just did his job in team fights. He knew his duty. He knew what he was doing. Short recap. You know, preparing for ganks in the early game, playing really aggressive, playing for trades, abusing Warwick's trading. Don't really focus on the waves too much. Focus on trading properly, winning trades. And when you get a lead, you want a side lane when there's just nothing going on. He's not over forcing any fights, but when a fight opportunity does break out, or when you see the ability to, you know, show up to a lane or show up to a fight, maybe set up for a dragon, that's when you want to group up and yeah, try to push your lead best you can. So let me know what you guys think of this video. I'm going to try to do a couple more VOD reviews of Renekton at some point, probably soon. So let me know if you want to see that. But thanks for watching, guys. Parnellyx. Have a good day.